It's time once again to go over the weekly closes for our favorite Bitcoin miners. We're also going to take a look at some cryptos, see how they're doing today. Before we get into it, stop by the Trade Cave store over on Etsy. Link is in the description as well as on our YouTube page. We've got a couple of nice items in here, a couple of shirts and a sticker if you would like. Go ahead and check that out when you've got the time. All right, let's go into Bitcoin. So Bitcoin today, so this is the daily on Bitcoin, not the weekly. You can see we sold off pretty dramatically here since Tuesday, Wednesday, and we got just stuck in this really bad downtrend here. We came all the way down to the 50-day moving average, and that sort of caught us here, and we are getting stuck to it right now. Hopefully, we see a bounce off of this thing, but if not, I'm looking at these past downward moves from the top back here and thinking, which one of these kind of looks similar to what we're staring at right now. And honestly, it looks a little bit like this one. Not like perfectly like it, but looks similar, right? So I'm expecting some sort of like a scoop up here, maybe one more flash down pretty dramatically. Um, so where we are right now is we're at the 50. Now we could get below the 50, and that's going to suck if we do. But I don't know if we will necessarily get down to the 200 unless the 200 meets us at 60,000. But the last time we cut under the 50, we got about a little more than halfway from the 50 to the 200, something like that. Let me take a look. All right, there. Yeah, just a little more than halfway between the 50 and the 200 before we started turning around. I don't think this time is going to be super, super different. I also think that halfway between the 200 and the 50 is an interesting little spot. I've done this once already, so let's go in here. Yeah, taking us to straight up, taking us right to support right here, which would put us right about here at 61. 325. So basically, the midpoint between the 50 and the 200 right now takes us right into the heart of support here. So, and that I think would be on a particularly bad day. We still need to see if the 50 is going to catch us. The 50 could catch us and send us back up. That's totally possible. So that's what we're waiting and hoping on right now. We are currently on the daily printing an inverse hammer candle, which is coming at the bottom of the range. So those are generally bullish to see an inverted hammer at the bottom of the range. And that could send us flying higher, but it is yet to be seen. We got to wait till the daily closes to see what that does. Hopefully we get an inverted but still blue hammer on the daily, and that would send us hopefully into a bullish pattern. We are in a Beltner, a Bollinger Band Keltner channel squeeze right now. We are operating off of a down arrow though, so I would like to see price come up, and to get a green arrow again, honestly, price has to come up over 70,000. So it's going to be a little while. But that's what we're looking at with Bitcoin. It is currently sitting on the 50. The highest I see is going off of this is honestly up to the top of this ascending channel, which is going to hit the 20-day moving average at 68,500. And honestly, on the low end, I really don't see us going really any lower than like $62,000. We might tap 60 on a wick, but I really don't see us going much lower than $62,000 unless something catastrophic happens on Bitcoin. Let's move on to Ethereum. Ethereum is a little more interesting than Bitcoin right now. So this is actually on the weekly for Ethereum. And we had that huge, huge pump when the ETF news came out, right? The ETFs still aren't trading yet. So, I mean, we're seeing that sideways action. But we got the dip, right? We got the sell the news dip. So this was the ETF news. And then this is afterwards, the aftermath. We got the dip, and that dip came down. Let's see, how much percent was it? We got our 15%. All right. Now, if you remember back with Bitcoin, January 11th, right here, from the top to bottom, let's take a look. Top to bottom was 21%, so we could go a little bit further. But once it was done dipping, it did what? Let's take a look. It went and did 93%. So we could see it dip a little bit further. So what I say, 21%, that would take us, yeah, all fully down to 3,100. I don't know if we're going to do it. 15% might be all we get on Ethereum. You can see we got this huge wick on the bottom. We got close to the 20, but not quite before we came right back up to the 5. And if I bet you if I change this to daily, Yeah, if I change it to daily, we came all the way down to the 50-day, bounced off of the 50-day. I don't think we're going much lower than that. Once we conquer the 20-day moving average at 3,700, which will probably meet us somewhere around 3,600 here in the next couple of days. Once we conquer that, we're going back to the top of this range at 3,900. I think this was the sell-off, especially with this candle here. This candle right here, let me turn on volume actually, see how that plays out. See what the bar looks like. Yeah. Yeah. Nice big green bar came in. Yeah, I like that. I like that. That wasn't like weak volume or anything. That was nice. Followed up by this. This is lowering volume here, so I don't like that. I'd like to see another high volume day come through. It was, if today we close above 3,558, let's just call it 3,560, right? We close above 3,560 today. This is the morning star. This becomes a morning star pattern. Morning star patterns are very bullish. And that could take us very easily up to 3,800 off of that pattern if we close above 3,560 today. That would be great. All right, Ethereum looks great. Honestly, we're coming out of this descending channel here. We're starting to come out of it. We're starting to peak out of it. It's a very aggressive one. Once we close above out of it, and honestly, 3,560 just barely gets us out of it. That opens us up for moving up to 3,800 and then 4,000 after. That's what we're looking at. All right, Solana. What is Solana doing? So we lost $160. Man, it held so much, but it did do the 3-tap rule, right? It tapped once and bounced, and twice and bounced, and third time it broke. That is normal. Usually the third tap breaks things. I was hoping it would hold this time, but that's okay. And it's doing exactly what I said, where we lost 160 and we're going into the lower part of the mid 100s. So the lower part of the mid 100s, we went as low as 139. Will 139 be the absolute low? I don't know, but it did match up very nicely with, which wick was it? There's a wick I saw back here. Matched real nice with. Oh well, that's where our bottom was right now. Let me put a little, make that yellow. Okay. Where could we go from here? We're in a very aggressive sell-off channel, honestly. So let me turn off this indicator here. I got too many indicators up. I'm building some lately. So we've got this very aggressive downward channel right about here. Yeah, something like that. All right. And it's aggressive. Let me see here. This thing is like really aggressive. Let me get this a little further back so I can line it up with that. There we go. That's about right. So I went with this one, this candle here where the uptrend started from the previous downtrend, and then the first red candle off of that uptrend, the top of that, and I followed the tallest wicks off of it. So we're in that aggressive downtrend here, and we are near the bottom of it. So actually we're at the middle of it right now. So we could curl up and come up and get back over 148, which, well, I don't know why I have that line in there. It's been in there for a long time. It looks like that was like a head and shoulders sort of thing. Let me go ahead and delete that for now. So yeah, we really want to see it come up, get out of this channel here at 152 to go back to 160, test 160 again, maybe fail at 160, and from that maybe test the 50-day moving average again from 160, which would be like 156, and then start crawling back up again. I don't know if we're going to hit the 200-day moving average, but if we do, and we very likely could hit the 200-day moving average here. That's hanging out down at $129. I would be a buyer at the 200-day moving average. If this thing hits the 200-day moving average, I will buy more Solana. And that is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. Nothing in these videos is, but that's just my plan. If we hit the 200-day moving average, I will buy a little bit more Solana. That's my personal plan. Excuse me. All right, so let's take a look at Dogecoin as well. Actually, that's just market cap. Let's see, Dogecoin, Doge. All right, let's take a look at the Doge. So what happened here? We came up to our line that I said was the neckline, where we got into that 18-cent range, almost very close to that 18-cent range before we sold off aggressively with the rest of crypto. Dogecoin is leading the charge here. Dogecoin, I'm pretty confident, is going to hit the 200-day moving average at probably 12.7, 12.8 cents. So we are likely to drop one more time. And then I'd be looking for a break of this trend line right here. Let me make this, that color. All right. Then I'd be looking for a break of this downward trend line here. And then from there, it will quickly come up to the 50-day moving average from there. That is what I'm looking for. This line doesn't matter anymore. We broke it. So yeah. Also, let's take a look here. So you can see volume is still pointing down. RSI keeps bouncing off this yellow line here, the midline here. I can't remember what that thing is called. Whatever, the yellow line on here keeps bouncing off of it and rejecting. We're about to tap it again and probably reject down to the 200-day moving average. We might wick a little bit further down and go to like 12.5 cents. But once we do that, this is like the ultimate bottom. Let me see here. I'm thinking this is the ultimate bottom right about right here. Let me make that green. All right. That's where I think like the ultimate bottom is going to be for this thing, unless we get like some really crazy news. And then it's going to come back, test this line here. We'll see if it breaks it. It might test it, come back down to this level, and then test it one more time, come back down to this level, get real compressed, and then from there take off. It could very well do that. That's what I'm looking for. Now let me turn on this one. Let me see where we are on this one. On the daily, we are so far away from any of that stuff. Okay. We're super far away from all the clouds. But we did come across the midline on the fibs, on the fib Bollinger. Yeah. We'll come back and test that. All right. So that's what I'm looking at. Dogecoin, most of the cryptos are still in a bit of a downtrend. Bitcoin could bounce from where it currently is and bring everything back up, but the trend currently is down, except for Bitcoin and Ethereum, where the trend really isn't down. Ethereum, I think the trend is about to go back up. Bitcoin, I think, is going to hang out for a while, probably compress a few more days, and then show a pretty fantastic move. I think Dogecoin is front running all of them and just giving up as much as it can, and then it will, once it breaks this line here, it's gonna have a pretty significant big move up, I think, from there for the either summer or Q4 could be what you're waiting for on that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly closes. I took way too long on that. So weekly closes, Bitfarms. The weekly close on Bitfarms is insane. Look at that. We had 19.5% this week. This thing holds. This looks very familiar. This move here, these moves look very familiar to these moves back here, where we got some big old moves up. Now let's take a look how high we moved up off the bottom. Let's see. This is from last summer, right here. Yeah, July. So this is the last summer up move. Let's see, what was that percent was? That percent in there from the bottom, which was in June, up until the top in July, it was 114%. Let's see here. This is May. I'm going to go ahead and call this one the base right here, because we went even lower here right before March and stuff. This one was May, where we got that lower bit, and then we launched. So I'm going to say that this section right here is where I'm basing that 110% off of right here. Once we started getting bullish again after Riot pissed everybody off. 111% from there, we are looking at about $4.45 potentially coming in on this move. Now, if we mark it from the bottom right here, which you can if you want, 111%, let's see what that move would be. From the bottom, 111 would put us at $3.28. I really don't think we're going to do that small of a move, because the last two moves were, let's see, the last move in Q4 was, and it's usually bigger, that was 240%, followed by a spring rally, which is not as common, of 104%, right? So, and that was from top to bottom. I think we're going to get closer to the 110 to 200% off of this thing. So maybe from the very bottom, 200%. Let's see what that would be for Bitfarms. 470. Yeah, I think we're coming up to this cloud up here, to this box I've drawn. I think we're coming up to this box I've drawn this time. That's my thought. Of course, this is not financial advice, not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. This is just what I am thinking. And now a lot of this is driven by Riot's buying. Now, poison pill situation could either send us flying way higher or make this thing fall flat. We are getting close to overbought on the weekly, and this is usually a point where we tend to flag and turn around. So we could find ourselves going sideways for the next 2-3 weeks before getting a pump up, and that pump up could be diminished by the situation with Riot. So I would be looking at this area here on the daily candles around like 350, 368. I would be looking, let me draw a cloud actually. Let me draw a cloud in this whole zone right here. That whole zone right there. And I'm going to make this red. I would be looking for shenanigans. I'd be looking for candles like this one right here on December 26th, or this one right here on February 26th, but I'd be looking on the daily for those, for signals that I should be getting out, for the blow off top sort of scenario. Now let's go down to the daily to see if there's anything recently that shows me that sort of move. Not really. Oh yeah, perfect. I would look for this candle right here. Right now, I'd be looking for this candle right here at December 18th. Now, it wasn't at the top, but it was close to the top. It was how many percent off the top? This thing was 22% off the top, which I know sounds like a lot, and it is, but like these things move so much, like I would have gotten out probably the next morning, somewhere around here, right? Which would have been 6% up from there, which would have been, let's just call it here, would have been like 18% off the top. That's what I'm looking for this time. And I'm okay missing the top by about 18%, but I'm looking for a blow off top sort of candle, something with a big wick on top. You know, there's another one right here from May 25th. I'm looking for that type of a candle, like this small bodied doji. I'm looking for something like that on the daily here going forward on Bitfarms to find out if, are shenanigans afoot? Is someone about to dump on me really hard? That's what I'm looking for once we get up into this area here, about 343, between that and 393. I'm looking for that. I really hope we just fly right through that and go into the $4 range. That would be amazing if the poison pill worked out that way. But we are overbought on the daily, so we are looking for some down move. But we could, as you can see, the last time we were up this high on the daily, we were overbought for this entire section right here. We were overbought. In fact, it started back here and we overbought and we went up. So we went up from being overbought. We went up another 40%. So being overbought isn't a condition for getting out, but it is something to pay attention to. All right, that's it for Bitfarms. Bitfarms is looking fantastic. Let's move on to BitDigital. BitDigital is still in this upward trend. We are printing dojis now, so it is starting to look a little bit uncertain, but volume is going the right direction. RSI is going the right direction. We got a little green arrow here. That doesn't always mean anything, but I like seeing it. We are having a squeeze, as you can see from the top of the screen here, and it is getting rejected by the 50-week moving average. When we conquer this thing at $2.76, when we close a week over $2.76, game is on for Bitfarms. That means we've conquered the 50. That means that is no longer a challenge. And that means that we are open for some big explosive upward moves on this stock. And I do think that we will likely come back up to the 445 range right here, or 449 where I've got that. I do think we will probably get close to touching this 200-week moving average up at 518. I think that is potential. That has potential this cycle here. That could happen. I mean, it got real close last summer back here. You can see we went all the way from 94 cents all the way up to $4.80 this time. And then last Christmas, we went from 195, 196, all the way up to 528. This time we could be going down all the way from 174. And who knows, we could even go a little higher this time. Let's draw a little line here. See, 2 points don't necessarily make a trend, but you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Can't stop me. If we were in July, end of July, we could come up to like 582 if we want to touch this line again. I don't know if we will. This is completely conjecture there. I do think the 200-day is totally possible, though. All right, let's take a look at Mara. How is Mara doing? Mara is not doing so hot. We are doing a bit of a downward trend on Mara. We came to the bottom of that trend, came back into it. We are printing a doji candle for the week, just below that $19.80 range. I don't love seeing that at all. Let me turn off these so I can see the SMA. So the 200-week SMA is where we are right now. It is catching us. It is holding us up. We seem to be having significant trouble conquering the 20-week moving average, which is at $20.75. Now, once that comes to an end, we could see some big moves up. We are, let me see here. Turn these back on. We are respecting this big channel here, right? This big upward channel. We came to the middle of it, we came down. So I think we're going to come to the bottom of it. I really hope. Now this one is actually done. We're out of this thing. This thing is done for good right now. We're on this smaller downward trend. We need to stay above the 200-day moving average. Otherwise, if we lose the 200-week moving average, we are going to likely come back to the bottom of the range here. That could happen if we close beneath it. I don't think we are, given the seasonality of things, unless something really bad happens tomorrow. Really, we're just like one or two good news events away on Mara from coming all the way back up into the high 20s, low 30s. That's honestly what I'm looking at there. And then I'd be looking for these blow-off tops that you see all the time on Mara for a signal to get out of those positions. All right, let's take a look at Riot. How's Riot doing for the week? Riot is up 8.33%. We are stuck in this little zone right here. we're stuck in there. We need to get out of that between $9 and 11.18. We've just been stuck in that for such a long time. We need to get out of that. We are at the top of this descending trend line that I've got going here. We are bottoming out. I do think this looks like a bottom. I think next week we'll get out of this thing. We'll come back, test the 200-week moving average, maybe even test the 50-week moving average. Sorry, this is the 20-week moving average, maybe even test the 50-week moving average at 1240. And once we get above these two moving averages, these are the things holding us down. Once we get above those two, that opens us up to come and test the 200-week moving average, which is currently at $16.39. Now, if you notice, the last couple of times we went way past it. Now this time though, it is at the 200-week is nearing the top of this range, so we might not get very far past it. We might just come up to like 1680 before bleeding off again. But we could easily come back up to that 18, maybe even $20 range for a day or two, maybe. But I don't really think so. I think the struggle would be to get over 1680, maybe even this time like 1650. We might struggle to get above that on Riot this time. That's what I'm looking for the summer rally though. If it comes through, hopefully it does. It might not, and I'd be very sad if it didn't. But I mean, look at the last summer rally. We were basically in the same place. So if you want to see the summer rally, okay, let me turn this. The last year's summer rally, we were basing here, which is between $12.50 and $10. This time we're basing between $11.50 and $9, just slightly below it. And what happened afterwards? Once we got out of that channel, we went up 73%. So if we get out of this channel, what would be 73% for us? 73% would take us up to $19. That would be pretty amazing. I don't necessarily think it's going to go all the way that high. I do think 16 is in the cards though, and that's all for Riot. Let's take a look at Iren. How's Iren doing? We all know the weekly on Iren is insane, 25%. This thing is just straight up since May 13th, just completely straight up. Now, currently, I don't like the wick on top of this thing. This weekly wick, I don't like that. That's kind of big. That's kind of big for me. I think we might flag next week between this area and then come down a little bit. I do think that we do need to test some SMAs. We are super far away even from the 5-week. The 5-week is all the way down at 866. The 20-week is all the way down at 621. The 50-week all the way down at $5.40. We need to test those things at some point. We haven't tested them since we have not come back to even touch the 5-week since May 20th. This thing's got to happen. It's got to come back and mean revert. And I think this is okay, so this is also why I think the summer run is coming for some of those other miners. I think this one ran first. I think that Iren and Core, the non-hodl crew, I think they ran first. And they ran hard. And I think that that is a precursor for some of these other ones to run fast and run hard pretty soon. And I think that this one now is probably going to start, it's going to start coming down, start decreasing in price as the other ones go up. I think that's going to be something that we're going to see here, that sort of dynamic. I think we might see that. Now, what am I looking for here? I really want to see it come back down to about just under $9. I want to see it come back to the bottom of the body of this big wick for the week, about 1023, between 1023 and about 970. I want to see it come at least down there. Otherwise, I don't even know what to say. It's just an absolute rocket. Now, if you're in this, very happy for you. Keep a look out for those blow off tops. Keep a look out for price to weaken and come back down. It may be, and of course, this is not financial advice nor a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever, but it may be time to start looking at rotation if you like to do rotation. If you want to just hold for the promised land, it is coming. We're in here. Once we get above $16.17 on this thing, that opens us up all the way up to $28. And that could happen. I don't know if that'll happen this summer, but I'm feeling like it, based on how it's performing, like that could happen by Q4 this year. Like it could be like a $30 stock by Q4. And that's pretty amazing. But right now I'm not chasing it because I don't own it. So I'm not chasing it. I'm looking for it to come down. Maybe test this line on the RSI. Looking for anything. Honestly, everything is pointing up still right now, but I would be cautious here personally. Let's take a look at Corz. How's Corz doing? Corz was up 32% last week. This thing, same thing, absolute rocket. Nothing's in the way of it. We're in price discovery mode right now, up at $10.33 now. Again, same with Iren. I think it's running hot and running early. Now it is way off of the 5-week moving average, which is all the way down at $5.97. I think that this thing needs to catch up. Now I think will catch it higher than this line here at 619. I think it's going to catch it higher. I think it's probably going to catch the 5-day moving average around between here. Let me draw a box. I shall draw a box where I think it's going to catch it. I think it's going to catch the 5-day moving average between about here and here. Let me make that box yellow. I think it's going to catch it somewhere between 7.90 and $7. Maybe 8. Somewhere between 7 and $8. I think the 5-week moving average is going to catch up. We're going to tap it, and we might move back up from there. But that's where I would be looking to see how is this thing interacting with that moving average now. What is it doing? Let me see how these FIBs. Does this even have FIBs? No, it won't give me the FIBs because they're because it's not been around long enough. It's just it's a rocket. If you're in this thing, congratulations, you're doing fantastic. Again, just like with Iren, I'm personally now looking for where's the top on this thing. I feel like it's probably coming soon for this particular cycle. That doesn't mean it's the ultimate top forever, but I do think that it might be the cycle top until we see it come back down for a few months and then come back up for the Q4 move again later on. All right, so that's all I've got for you today. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.